I just flipped the switch.
Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we're looking for revenge. Oh, summer 16. Oh, wait, it's 2018. Never mind. In reality, we're looking at the newest record from the Toronto rapper, singer, entrepreneur, ambassador, Mr. Drizzy Drake, Six God, Emotional Teen Baby, Aubrey Graham. You get the point, he's well known. From the early days on Degrassi to the triumph of his baby OVO sound, and now to his literal newborn baby, Drake, for better or worse, has been making quite a bit of sound in the 21st century. Back in 2016, while capitalizing off of longer album releases and millions of streams on Apple Music, Drake made a gigantic yet disappointing return with Views, which was this piece of dancehall-infused pop that clocked in over 80 minutes, with no shortage of Billboard topping hits either. The success bled into 2017 with the new playlist, as he called it, More Life, which gave us a few more notable tracks. I especially enjoyed the song Passion Fruit for its beat and production, effectively one of the better pop songs Drake has come out with since Hold On We're Going Home. And in my opinion, those two songs should go down in history as essential for Drake's discography. Now, when I say essential, there's a bit of a caveat there because there's Apple Music kind of essentials where they regularly update and jam as many songs as possible into a 3-hour playlist. Or, there's a smarter or more efficient way to trim through and realistically pick out the songs that will be called timeless classics. Now, with the mentioning of classics, the new Drake record Scorpion doesn't really feature any of those, especially through the first few listens, other than maybe the Scary Hours track, God's Plan. But hey, I still don't care if this album has hits or not. Like many others, I'm just here to see if Drake could rebound from the diss tracks put out by Pusha T. Because most importantly, this is a fragile time for Drake to be putting out a release, so what do we get? Well, for starters, it is a double-sided album with side A featuring some rap songs and side B featuring the more calm R&B tracks. The first of the 25 songs that I'll be going through as quickly as possible is called Survival. It samples this cute little video game instrumental all the way throughout. Also kind of gives me the vibes like it was borrowed from Fly Like an Eagle by the Steve Miller Band. There's some hard-hitting bass as Drake is essentially recapping his entire career with Cash Money and all his beefs to go with it. Interestingly, Drake also says that he shouldn't get ahead of himself as this is only the intro, which is quite ironic since Drake did the complete opposite thing with the intro cut on Nothing Was the Same. Nonstop is the next cut that comes through with an incessant and sustained bass, which is ultimately the prominent highlight of this entire song. Lyrically, I am a fan of the Rolex and stopwatch comparison, but I feel like I'm not won over with Drake's vocal performance as he's coming off as very apathetic. Like, there is an interesting call and response with himself in the studio where he's muttering under his own breath, but I don't know, it's not really sticking with me. Elevate is the first song on this record that showcases the singing and rapping combo, which has pretty much become a Drake trademark at this point. However, his singing on this is just atrocious, it's very underwhelming. And lyrically, Drake dives deeper into the mood that he's going to be exploring on this album as he's saying this summer he'll be tweaking. Emotionless is one of my favorite songs on this record. It stands out as very distinct. And there's a nice gospel intro with the bass meshing with the piano note changes as well. Overall, there's a great sample that is kept all the way through the song. Now the vocal delivery on this reminds me quite a bit of Weston Road Flows. It has a hungry bite to it, but at the end of the day, if you swap out the instrumentals and just listen to Drake's voice, I feel like it would be hard to distinguish which one goes with which song. Regardless of that criticism, I feel like Emotionless ironically gets really personal. Drake reveals that he has a son that he was trying to hide from the world and not the other way around. And there's some descriptive stories in the second verse of the song with fake people going to Rome, taking pictures and posting them on their Instagram later just to say that, hey, I'm still there. Drake also refers to the people that need help, but their most recent caption is leave me alone. And there's a cool idea with the saying, a wise man once said nothing at all. Altogether, Emotionless focuses on social media influence on how we raise children and what they go through in life. And regardless of his ways to find excuses to raise his own son, I feel like this is still a pretty good song. Especially when the last 45 seconds of it is a beautiful keyboard solo with a popping synth that catches my ears on every listen. Up next we get God's Plan, which is another distinct song on this track listing. Features these nice instrumentals from the sample to the technological bing that happens on every other 4E and in the meter. At the end of the day, God's Plan will probably be called a new Drake classic, but I'm just not a fan of his delivery on this. Lyrically, it is a good response to people hating on him when in actuality he's helping people. But when you follow up God's Plan with the whiny song of I'm Upset, I don't know who is in charge of making this track listing, but those are probably the two worst songs that you could have back to back. Sure, I'm Upset samples some ocean waves, trap snare, and tambourine, which is an odd mixing of things and it seems very futuristic, but its minimal production does not make up for the fact that Drake is just the biggest crybaby on the song. 8 out of 10 is a boldly titled song which sees Drake kind of respond to the Pusha T diss. Some lyrics from this say that he's settled into the role of the good guy. I guess luck is on your side. No more sixes, it's sevens. Rest easy, get some shut-eye. Is a subtle reference to the Good Music label putting out some albums over the course of June, which all had 7 tracks. And the hold on shouting from Drake is actually captivating. It gives me flashbacks to like his older kind of discography with a great sound. And for the outro on 8 out of 10, yes, with that meme of, I can't argue with you. I don't know what Drake was aiming for with this, but I feel like it could be interpreted as Pusha T. But regardless, it just feels a little tacked on and unnecessary for the song. Mob Ties gets more of a trap influence with the quick sick-a-das. And with the harder beat, the clattering jolt of the bass meshed with the tongue rolls is a neat feature. But at the end of the day, it's a forgettable song with not much of a melody. Can't Take a Joke is another personal track which sees Drake kind of fire off at all his anonymous fans. The clicks and reloads of his gun before he shoots in each verse is a nice feature, but again, Drake just comes across as very whiny. Sandra's Rose is a slower song on this album, kind of mixes up the pace a bit with real drums and R&B inspired keyboard and samples. I don't have much to say on it other than it's just there to kind of slow things down. Now, Talk Up is an interesting track to look at, especially with the feature from Jay-Z. Drake is essentially responding to the people that consider him a joke over top of this harder, gritty beat, and where he's saying that, hey, I put the 6 on the map. And again, Drake's vocal delivery comes off as something that he's done before. This time round, it sounds like hype from Views. And lastly, Jay-Z on this doesn't even sound remotely interested in what he's spitting. Sure, he's talking about the president's tweets, but I don't get the idea he's going for with it. Is the More is the last song on the first half of this record that has some nice lyrics. There's a witty Walt Disney reference, and he's also saying that the only begging he does is begging your pardon, as believable as that is. But yeah, we'll just move on to side B now. Side B kicks off with the song Peak, which just sounds like a ripoff of Nothings Into Somethings from the playlist that Drake put out last year. And lyrically, I feel like Drake is just switching the role or perspective that he held on the song Shot for Me. So this time round, he's the one turning up for the other person. And overall, the only notable feature in this song is the fuzzy synth sound in the chorus. Summer Games is a decent song on the second half of this album, especially when it's hard to sift through all the monotonous sounds. I mean, other than the fact that Drake steered a hard right with the commentary on the song. Essentially, he took whatever steam or power he had from the song Emotionless and started talking about social media and more the context of, you know, that petty kind of unfollowing. And what's with the sluggish vocal delivery? You have energetic drums behind you. Why don't you actually sing like you're interested in the song? Sonically, Summer Games is one of the better songs on this. Like, everything from the production, the instruments, everything but Drake's vocal performance is good. Jaded is the name of the next song, which is a fitting title as Drake's flow and everything about him is making me very jaded as well. Again, the instrumentation is minimal. It's got me asking, like, where is the melody coming from in the song? It's songs like this that make me wish Drake would cut the track listing in half and actually pick out the best songs. And congrats to Drake for crafting a song that is even more stale and uneventful than Redemption off of Views. Now let's take a little bit of a turn here with Nice for What. I actually really love this song. It's the most pop-leaning song on this entire project. Has a nice Lauryn Hill sample in it as well. Makes me feel like it's an older kind of Kanye instrumental he would use, but with a mixture of Drake's kind of beat and trap hi-hat, bass, and drums. And in my opinion, Nice for What actually features the best vocal performance from Drake, and I can actually sense the melody in his voice. Lastly, the heavily produced layered vocals at the 2-minute 30-second mark is a chaotic mess, which comes off as a little muddy, but surprisingly it works with the song. Finesse is the next track, which sees Drake just plummet back into the sound that he was doing on Jaded. And I don't know what's drearier or more mundane at this point. I might as well just listen to Division. At least he can sing. Ratchet Happy Birthday. Yeah, I just want to take a hard pass on that. For some reason, I thought Drake could get through a project without making any corny lyrics, but he did it here with Reese's Pieces. That's How You Feel, which features Nicki Minaj, has this sample, which has got to be probably one of the most telephonic and out there things that you could possibly mix with an R&B sound. Like, yeah, I do feel Nicki's rage in her rapping. I feel like Drake just lets her down. Blue Tint finally gives us a refreshing song for the second half. And that's all because of the jazzy guitar and keyboard that are just playing along in the background of the mix, which is much needed to revitalize this entire side of the album. And you know what? Future's verse is more tolerable than what he usually puts out. In My Feelings is a song that at about 33 seconds it becomes a carbon copy of God's Plan. We can even hear some of the same instrumentals from that song being sampled here. Don't Matter to Me is probably the track that has the most interesting feature here. We get Michael Jackson. And it was earlier this year that Drake teamed up with Paul Anka, yes, the Ottawa crooner. I don't know, they came together and made this song that was never released by Michael Jackson before. MJ's delivery in the pre-chorus sounds like a mixture of a Man in the Mirror and Dirty Diana kind of combination. And overall, it's an okay fusion of the Drake and Michael Jackson sound. Like, it is what I would expect. It's not too flashy, and it's not much of a highlight either, which is a shame because I'm a pretty big Michael Jackson fan. After Dark featuring Static Major and Ty Dolla $ign is just a 2000s Usher kind of throwback. Static Major sounds awful, and just the ear-piercing falsettos, no thanks. And Drake's backup vocalist behind him on this track just come off as a shoddy steal of the harmony used in the song Redemption. And why the radio outro with Al Wood? Like, I feel like I'm missing something, but why was it that long? Final Fantasy is an interesting song for its composition. It kind of plays like a two-parter. The first half of the song talks about Drake's sexual fantasies with the tackiest and most tasteless references. There's a little bit of an Asian influence on the strings and the instrumentals on this track as well. And then the first half of the song ends with like this record player scratch and lift of the needle before being put back down on what seems to be the other side, and we get Maury Povich coming through with what his audience is saying, oh, that baby looks like Drake. The song kicks back in and it feels like a little bit of a slower sample of what was being played in the first half. It moves at this leisurely pace that focuses more on Drake scoring with a girl, and he's putting a pun on Slash from Guns N' Roses. Yeah, after that, I just want Drake to stay away from sexual fantasies, please. And here we are at the final track, March 14th, and other than its clever one line about empty crib and the empty crib, I feel like it just falls a little bit flat musically. Lyrically, however, it does wrap up the album with this positive outlook of Drake wanting to see his son. So overall, Scorpion by Drake is an excruciatingly long and tedious album with beats that just sound interchangeable with one another. Like the outro to 8 out of 10, I think Drake is just becoming more of a meme than a musical artist, which really just cements his status in the hip-hop community right now. Yes, Drake did get personal on this, saying that he has a son and wants to take care of him, wants to see himself as the good guy. But sonically, this project is just another labyrinth of an album with a few noteworthy tracks and the rest just appearing as moody and depressing as ever. And really, it's up to you to determine how much Drake is enough, but 90 minutes in one sitting of Drake, yeah, that's always going to be a chore to get through. At the end of the day, I just wish Drake would take a cheat note from the Kanye playbook and make a shorter album. It would seriously come off as more concise, quick and to the point, and you wouldn't have to sift through those songs that just all sound the same with no melody. So yeah, I'm feeling a 4 out of 10 for this album, Scorpion by Drake. It's not something I would recommend unless you're a longtime hardcore Drake fan, but you know what, judging by the streams that he had in the first day of its release, yeah, 170 million on Apple Music. I think there's a lot of people interested in what he's doing. But yeah, we'll see how much longer he can keep putting up these numbers and keep pushing the agenda. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Agree or disagree. I'm here to engage with you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. My name is Ryan from True North Reviews. And as always, have a rockin' day. Thanks for watching.